Hello Year 6 and welcome to Monday's literacy lesson. Okay, so today we are still using our text on the loggerhead sea turtles. Okay, but today we're going to be having a look at the inference questions. Okay, now the inference questions are on pages 18 and 19. Now remember with inference questions, the answer might not be straight there in the text for you to retrieve, to find exactly and copy it from the text. It's going to take a little bit more thinking, but using clues from the text to help you. Okay, so I'll have a look at each of the questions with you and give you some tips and help where to look for answers, the kind of evidence that you need to use. Okay, so it's pages 18 and 19. So the first question, so really important to remember all these tips for answering these kind of questions. Now, lots of these questions tell you which paragraph to look at. So make sure you are looking at the exact bit of text that you've been asked to look at. Now, I've been really pleased to see from some of your work. So Harry, I've seen you highlighting bits of the text that are really important bits that will help you. So that's a really good strategy. And I've pinched that strategy today when I've been thinking about what might help you answer these questions. So well done, Harry, that's brilliant. Okay, so the first question then is a how can you tell question. Okay, so that straight away tells you that the answer is not going to be something that you can lift straight from the text. It's how can you tell. So it's using the evidence in the text to tell you that sea turtles have existed for a long time. Okay, so it only asks for one example. So it's really important here that you don't just write loads and loads. Okay, it's asking for one example. So make sure that you only pick one example from the text. So it tells you to look at the very first paragraph. So if I go to the very first paragraph here, so the first paragraph here, so it's asking you how you know they've been here for a long time. So you've got to use your own knowledge of other creatures that you know either lived a long time ago or have also lived for a long time. Okay, so I'd be looking at this the very first sentence. Okay, so since various species of sea turtle began to cruise the Earth's oceans, they have borne witness to the fall of dinosaurs and the rise of human civilizations. Okay, so think carefully, what does it say there that shows you that they were around at the same time as something else that lived a long time ago? So it's using that evidence. Okay, so the second question then on your inference questions gives you a quote. Okay, so it's back to facts and opinion. So you might want to pause the video in a moment when I talk to you about facts and opinion to discuss this with somebody. Okay, so remember that facts cannot be argued with. Okay, nobody could say, oh, well, I think this, or actually, no, I disagree, I think this. So remember, facts are something that nobody can make an argument with. So the quote that you're giving is, one of the most intriguing species of sea turtle is the loggerhead. Okay, so intriguing then is a really important piece of vocabulary there. Okay, so intriguing means interesting, fascinating, something that somebody might want to find out lots about. Okay, so that quote says that they are an intriguing species, and you've got to decide whether that's fact or opinion. Okay, so just remind yourself now of what you think a fact and an opinion is. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Pause it, have a think, have a talk to somebody, and decide whether you think that's a fact or an opinion. Okay, so the first one then, so today is Monday. Okay, so pause it, have a little discussion with someone or have a little think and then come back. Right, okay, so that's a fact, isn't it? Today's Monday. No one could say, oh, actually, I think it's a Tuesday or I think it's a Sunday. Okay, you can't argue with that. It is Monday. Okay, so second one then. So it is cold today. So pause it, have a little chat with somebody, and then unpause and we'll discuss it. Okay, so yeah, that's an opinion. Okay, because I might think it's cold, but you might think, oh, actually, I don't think it's that bad. I'd go outside, like lots of you, I'd go outside without a coat on, or So that one is an opinion. That's something that could be argued. Okay, I mean, obviously you've got temperatures and things, but somebody could actually argue that. Okay, so the next one then, I think the literacy is really interesting today. Okay, so have a pause and think. Okay, so I think it's interesting. Somebody else might not find these like nature texts very interesting. It might not be of any interest to them. So that's an opinion. Okay, so have a little think about fact and opinion. Go back to that quote that one of the most intriguing species of sea turtle is the loggerhead. So remember, intriguing means interesting, fascinating. So have a think whether that's fact or opinion. Okay, so you only need to write fact or opinion on that line. Okay, so the next one then. So read the paragraph that starts. So make sure you've got the right paragraph. So in addition, loggerheads are. So that's just that paragraph that you're looking at. So it's another how can you tell? So it's some evidence that shows you that sea turtles are strong swimmers. Okay, so go to that paragraph. So in addition, loggerheads are. So you're using your scanning skills here. So I'm looking for in addition, loggerheads are. So it's the paragraph at the top of page 14. Okay, so make sure you're having a really good look. So you're looking for some evidence that the sea turtles are strong swimmers. Okay, so some evidence that tells you that. Okay, so really looking for something to do with their swimming and the evidence that tells you that they're strong, that they don't give up, that they can keep going. Okay, so it's how can you tell? So you're picking something out. So it's not going to say they are strong swimmers because there's going to be something that tells you that they are strong swimmers. Okay, so look for the evidence. Okay, then the next one. So the next one is what's evidence? So another evidence one is there in the text that female loggerhead sea turtles have good memories. Okay, so what I've done here is I've gone to this paragraph and I can see where it talks about female loggerhead sea turtles. So I'm going to this section here, because I can see it there as well with my scanning and skimming, talks about female loggerheads. So the evidence is going to be somewhere around there. So you're looking for something. So it's asking you, go back to the question. So it's asking you for some evidence that tells you that they have good memories. So something that says that they were able to remember, they're able to remember something that's gone, that something's in the past, that's something they've done before. Okay, so I'll read the sentence to you. So when a female loggerhead turtle is ready to lay her eggs, she will return to the exact same beach she herself hatched on, even though decades, so decades are 10, 1 decade is 10 years. So that's saying that decades can have passed, more than 10 years will have passed since she was last there. She'll still go back to the same beach. So think about that there. How does that show that they've got good memories? Okay, right. So the next question then. So read the paragraph. So again, it's giving you a signpost. It's telling you where to go to. That begins when a female loggerhead reaches, find and copy a phrase. So you remember, a phrase is just a small group of words. Okay, so it's not a full sentence. So don't copy out loads and loads. You need to find the exact piece of evidence that suggests that it's difficult for a baby loggerhead sea turtle to leave their eggs. So it's about them hatching and about them getting out of their eggs. So I've gone to that paragraph about where they're hatching. So it's this second paragraph down on page 14. And I've underlined a bit here. Okay, so it says this is the bit about them getting out of their egg. So you've got to think about a section there that shows that it is difficult for them to get out of the egg. Okay, so have a look at that really carefully. So hold that a bit closer so you can see the bit that I've underlined. So don't just copy that whole bit out. See if there's a bit there that shows you that it's difficult for them to get out. Okay, so the next question then. So the next one's a tick box one. So read from, so it tells you where to read from again. Why do the hatchlings reach this? try to reach the C as quickly as they can. Tick one box, so only one. Okay, so have a look. So they're out of their eggs, they're trying to get to the C really quickly. Please don't guess, go back to the text. So find the bit that it's talking about. So it's here. Again, it's that second paragraph down. And why is they try and quickly get there? Okay, so the next one then, it tells you which paragraph again. How does the paragraph make the baby loggerhead's journey to the sea seem challenging? This time it is two ways. Okay, so how does it make it look like it's difficult for the baby loggerheads? Okay, so find the part. So these threats, so I've put a little star there because I know it's this section that I'm looking at here. Okay, so these threats to the turtle nesting sites, and have a read of that little bit. And you're looking for two ways that it's the baby loggerhead's journey is difficult. Okay, now the next one you've got to be really, really careful on. So please, again, don't guess. Go back to the text. Now for this one, so it says that the plastic bags look similar to jellyfish, and it's asking, why is it a danger to the loggerhead sea turtles? Now straight away, and you might make this mistake, I went to that bit. Okay, so I went to that bit where it talks about plastic bags and they're looking like jellyfish. And I couldn't tell why that was dangerous for loggerhead sea turtles. It didn't tell me, it just said that they look a little bit like jellyfish, and that's a danger for the sea turtles. Now, I couldn't work out why. So I thought, oh, there must be something else in the text that will help me with that. So I went back right to the beginning because I couldn't really remember hearing jellyfish mentioned again. But I found another little bit about jellyfish, and it's on page 13, and it's the third paragraph, so 1, 2, 3, and I've underlined it there. So have a look what it says about jellyfish in that third paragraph on page 13, and think then. So think what it says about jellyfish there, so that's your clue, and why plastic bags looking like jellyfish is therefore a particular danger. Particular danger means a certain, it really is dangerous for them. At the last paragraph, sorry, the last question asks us to look at the last paragraph. How does this paragraph make the reader feel about loggerhead sea turtles, and explain your answer? Okay, so I would be looking for a feeling first. So how does it make the reader feel? So I think it makes the reader feel, and then a feeling. Okay, so that might be sad, it might be feel sorry for them, whatever you think from that last paragraph. And then the really important part, as always, is to find the evidence to back that up. So give the feeling, so I think it makes them feel, and then the feeling, and then the evidence. So it's that really key phrase, because it says, okay? So make sure then you back it up with something that it says in the text. So I think it makes the reader feel, and then a word, and then because it says, and then something from the text to support that, okay? Inference questions can be tricky, okay, because you've got to use the evidence and use the clues. Okay, so hopefully those tips for each question, so pause the video after each question and go and answer it and look at the parts that I've said to look at, okay? Right, so today's word power work then. So I'm really careful today because I'm not asking you to do all of it today, because there's a certain part that we need to do a little bit more detail on, and you've answered quite a lot of questions today. Okay, so looking at this page, which is pages 18 and 19, and it's about formal language. Okay, so we've been building up to this over the past few days. So you looked at passive voice on Friday, and that links into formal writing today. Okay, so formal writing, so there's lots and lots of good features, as it says at the top. Is really good writing for a specific piece of writing that you're doing. Okay, so if you want to be formal, so if you're writing a letter of complaint, or you are speaking to somebody formally, you've got to use a good standard of English, but it's really important, as you'll see today, not to go over the top with so it just becomes unreadable. Okay, so the first little section is a made up, so it's not really a radio broadcast, written in formal English. So you're going to underline any parts that make it sound formal. Okay, so remember, it's not your chatty everyday language, it's formal language. Okay, so I've picked out some words though that I first want you to pause the video and go and look up. Okay, now you might know them, but I really want you to think about them to make sure you know what they mean so that you can understand the text. Okay, so that I've picked out abduction. So if you need how to spell it there. I've picked out numerous, so you might want to write that down, and extraterrestrials, you might want to write that down. So when you've jotted these down, so you've got abduction, numerous, and extraterrestrials. Okay, and then if there's any others, I want you to pause the video and go and look those up so that you know exactly what you are looking, so you understand the text when you read it. So go and look those up now. Okay, so you should have jotted the meanings of those down. If you already knew them, you might have just made a little note. If you've had to look them up, remember you can go on dictionary.com and written down what they mean, and that'll help you to understand that text. Okay, so in this so then underline the bits that you think are formal. So I would underline, so if I give you an example to start off with, so I would underline this first bit, sorry. Reports have emerged. Okay, so reports have emerged means that reports have come out. Okay, so instead of saying, oh, we've heard a few people say, okay, it's reports have emerged, reports have come out from people. Okay, so I would underline reports have emerged. Okay, so have a look through that then and underline any bits that you think are formal. So the next bit talks about passive voice. Now we discussed passive voice on Friday. Okay, so then it asks you, why do you think that they use passive voice? So instead of saying, we don't know yet, it said, it is not yet known. Okay, so they haven't got any people in there. Okay, so think about Friday's lesson and have a think about why they might. So that's a multiple choice one. If only it might have just used passive with no people in. Okay. Then there's a follow-up to the broadcast. Okay, so here where it says there's a follow-up to the broadcast, that's the part I don't want you to do. So it's the first two bits, but then this green bit at the bottom, I don't want you to do that because that talks about the subjunctive, which we need a little bit more time on. Okay, and then the next bit, it gives you some words across the top here. Now you might want to have a look at some of these on the dictionary. Okay, so you've got, put them on a scale. So this side then here is the least formal, and this is the more formal, the most formal. Okay, so you've got verbalise, so then you've got different words here. So you've got verbalise, natter, chat, and communicate. So think about which words you would use when just chatting to a friend, and which words you perhaps would use if writing a letter of complaint or writing to Mrs. Beckett or something like that. So the words here, they all mean talk. Okay, so you've got talk right in the middle there. So all of those words mean talk. So which do you think are the least formal and which do you think are the most, and put them along the scale here. Now the final bit then, you have got here where somebody's gone a little bit over the top with their formal language. Okay, so they've put far too many adjectives in. Okay, so it's really important when you're using formal language that you just get to the point. You don't need to be really descriptive. It's about picking the best word to suit what's being said. Okay, so it asks you to rewrite it here next to it without using loads and loads of words. Now, what I've done here is I've underlined the bits where I think that it's gone over the top. Okay, so where they've used too many adjectives here, your tall flowering vegetation. Okay, so vegetation means plants. There might be some other words in here that you want to look up. Okay, so I would start this first sentence. So, dear sir, So there's nothing wrong with this. I write to inform you of the situation regarding your tall flowering vegetation, which is currently overshadowing my garden. Okay, so I would perhaps change this to, I write to inform you of the situation regarding the vegetation in your garden, which is currently overshadowing my garden. Okay, so we don't need those adjectives. Okay, I'm using formal vocabulary like vegetation instead of plants, but I don't need the description. Okay, the person that I'm writing to just needs to know what I am complaining about. Okay, so have a little go at that. Okay, trying to see where you need to take out words to make it more to the point. Okay, so that's a little bit of a challenge today. So I'm really looking forward to reading your inference answers today. They are a bit tricky, but have a really good go at them. And then your word power work. You're doing brilliantly, Year 6. Really loving seeing all of your work, and I shall see you tomorrow.